You can look at some of these. See this one? You just see different plants. Some of you over there might not be able to see. So as we talk about these plants, I have some questions for you. Don't remember what they are. Oh, what do you notice about these plants? Raise your hands. I don't want everybody to shout at once. What is something you notice about these plants? Max? They grow. Okay. Samuel? No, you're Samuel's brother. Thomas. They're different sizes. Kirsten? They need water. Good. Anybody from here, Sunshine? Different types of plants. Noah, do you notice something about the plants? Okay, some of them grow flowers on them. Some of them do. Good. Somebody from over here. Angelina?
They all live.
They all live? Yeah, some of them are struggling. Some of them are struggling. But yes, they do all live. Casey?
They're all one of a kind.
Oh, they're all one of a kind. Okay. Interesting. Good. Well, they all have green. Good. Okay. Let's see. Why would some of these plants be bigger than other plants? Okay, now you have to raise your hand. Why would some of these plants be bigger than other ones, do you think? Emma, read. Maybe some get more water. That very well could be. Maybe some get more water. Mackenzie? Maybe the size of the pot. Lots of variables here, huh? It's a good science lesson. Jenna? They're made for different things. So some of them are made to grow bigger. Good, that's interesting. Lexington? The stem is growing more. That's good. Okay. What would make some of these plants healthier than other plants? I want you to look at this one. Do you see that one? Look at that one. And look at this one. Do you see this one? They were planted at the exact same time. I planted them the same exact day, bought them at the same exact nursery, used the same exact dirt. Or just any of these. What would make some plants healthier than others? Nicholas? Maybe fertilizer, okay? What could make one plant healthy? They live longer, that could be. Allie, who's next to Allie? Kendall? Maybe some were made to die. What an interesting thought. Savannah? Maybe some get more food, okay? What makes the difference? You can put your hands down. I'm going to answer this question. What makes the difference? This plant, I got this plant when Tatum Parsons was in my class, and it was in a Dixie cup. It was this big. What made the difference for this plant? I got this plant from a student last year for teacher appreciation, and it's supposed to have a ton of flowers on it, and it doesn't have hardly any flowers on it. What makes the difference? This one used to have 4 of them. It used to have 4 of them in there, and 2 of them just fell out. They just fell out in the dirt. What makes the difference? This is a cactus, and this is a cactus. This one hadn't grown, and this one, I've had to change the pot 3 times. What makes the difference? And look at this one. This one just keeps making new leaves all the time. And look at this one. Look at that one. How's that one doing? What? Not doing so great, is it? It's not doing so great. What makes the difference? Well, it's just like that. I'm not really asking you a question. I'm going to tell you what I think. Just like in that song, it says, we were made to more than just survive. This plant is still alive. It is still green. But is it doing all that great? It's just kind of hanging on. This little fertilizer or good food. The water always kind of sat on top of it. This, the roots are down deep. It always took all the water that I gave it. It got good sun, and it's dug deep, and then after it dug deep, then what happened to the plant? It grew big, and it's got blooms on it. And it's beautiful. I love this plant. It grew all the way out. What our Bible lesson says is when we dig deep into God's Word, then we grow out with His love. We dig deep to God's Word by studying the Bible. We dig deep to God's Word by listening to our teachers talk to us. We dig deep to God's Word by going to church or Sunday school. But it's not enough just to dig deep. If all the plants did was go down in the dirt, we'd never see them. This has roots. I don't know why it won't grow, but it's got roots, but it never grew anywhere. After we dig deep, then what's our job? To grow out. To grow out with God's Word. Okay, I think we have another one maybe. What about us? We're not plants, but we can grow too. What does it mean if we just survive? If we're kind of like this one, we're still green, we're hanging out, we didn't die, but we're definitely not. What does it mean if we just survive? It means just getting through. If I could just get through today. Oh, if I could just get through to Thanksgiving break. If I could just get through this soccer game. That's just surviving. What's the next question? What does it mean for us as Christians to thrive? What does it mean for us to thrive? What do you think a thriving Christian looks like? Just like my thriving plant. This is my favorite. What do you think it looks for us to thrive like this plant? What do you think? Oh, you're Olivia's brother. Ian? Elliot. Sorry. To grow as Christians, definitely to grow about their Ellie. Tell others about God's Word. Yes. Those are those blooms. Showing God's love, showing God's beautiful love to other people. Any idea what it means for us to thrive? If plants don't get water, they'll die. It means that we get what we need. We dig deep into God's Word. We get nourished. We get the food we need from God. And then we grow and we show other people God's love. What makes the difference? What makes the difference between us surviving and thriving? You know what makes the difference? What makes the difference? God. God makes the difference. God's Spirit in us makes the difference. It's like miracle grow for these plants. God's Spirit makes the difference between us thriving. So we want to be people that dig deep into God's Word and grow out with God's love. Will you say that with me? You say it after me. Dig deep in God's Word. Dig deep in God's Word. And grow out with God's love. I saved my favorite plant to the end. This is my favorite. Can you see this plant? I could barely fit it in my van. This plant I got in December of 2012. And it was in this little black pot with 5 other plants, and it was this big. And I've changed the pot 5 times, and I cannot keep it in the pot. I wound it around this chair. It keeps growing. We step on it. This is the kind of Christian I want to be. This is the kind of Christian I want you to be. That you're so full of God's love that you grow everywhere. You can't keep it in. It goes everywhere. We want to share God's love everywhere. We want to be thriving Christians. That's what I'm excited about. This time when we sing the song Thrive, oh, look at those thriving Christians. Do they look like they're just When you